जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय राधा किशोरी वल्लभ राधा किशोरी वल्लभ राधा किशोरी वल्लभ श्री राधे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भक्ति सदना श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भक्ति सदना श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भक्ति सद्मा श्री गुरु वंदो मोहि सावधान माते वंदो मोहि सावधान माते यहर प्रसादे हे भवतो रियाया हर प्रसादे बा हे भवतो रियाया कृष्ण प्रति होया आते कृष्ण प्रति होया आते गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चिते कोरिया ऐक्या गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चिते कोरिया ऐक्या गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चिते कोरिया ऐक्या आना कोरी हो माने आशा आना कोरी हो माने आशा चकुदान दिलो ये जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो ये जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति आहा होते अविद्या विनाशयते भक्ति आहा होते अविद्या विनाशयते प्रेम भक्ति आहा होते अविद्या विनाशयते वेद गाय हर चरित वेद गाय हर चरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर बंधु गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनर बंधु लोकनाथ लोके राजीवाना लोकनाथ लोके राजीवाना आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद जया प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पाद जया बेया सुश्री भुवाना बेया सुश्री भुवाना श्रील प्रभुपाद पतित पावाना श्रील प्रभुपाद पतित पावाना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा नम ओम विष्णुपदाय स्थाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भाष्यात्यादेशधारिणे Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.
Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Radha Madhava Kunj Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Granthiraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhyaeva Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So Hare Krishna everyone, thank you so much for coming this morning. So we're continuing our discussions on Kurukshetra. And I was thinking yesterday we're taking all of you through a bit of a roller coaster journey, because in the morning I was trying to describe some of the sweetness of Braj, and then in the afternoon His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Maharaj took us through the cosmology of the material world, the great forest of material enjoyment and the subterranean heavenly planets and hellish planets. And then in the evening, His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj took us to Vrindavan again, very beautifully. And now I'm going to pull you into the battlefield again. So forgive me if you don't want to go to the battlefield, but the battlefield is a reality. So that's where we're going. And Krishna actually says, Sachinanda Maharaj was explaining how we have to see Vrindavan through the heart and how we have to live in Vrindavan in consciousness. And actually Krishna explains in the Gita, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yudhyacha. Therefore you have to remember me, Krishna says. Tasmat, therefore, sarva kaleshu, at all times, ma manusmara, remember me. Remember Sri Vrindavan Dham, remember who you are, what your highest aspiration is, but at the same time, yudhyacha, you have to fight. You have to be a fighter, Arjun. Your role in this life is to be a fighter. And perhaps every devotee has to be a fighter. And therefore the first dimension of Kurukshetra that we'll look at is the dimension that Kurukshetra is a Yuddha Kshetra. This is where we're trying to go, Braj. This is what we explained yesterday. But right now we are in the Yuddha Kshetra. And what I'll try to do with you is share some ideas of the reflection that I have on the Yuddha Kshetra and how that relates to our journey, to our highest aspiration. Here you have actually the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Sometimes it's just beautiful to look at these pictures and just think what may it have been like to be there in that battlefield. I don't want to keep bringing up the World Cup, but you can imagine the euphoria in that stadium. Some devotees actually messaged me and told me they were there, so I won't tell you who it was. They were like, the atmosphere is electric. So you can imagine what that must have been like. And this battle was the culmination of the entire Mahabharata. It all culminated here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And perhaps all of us have our Mahabharata. Do you have a Mahabharata? Could we write a Mahabharata about your life? Prabhupada used to actually tell one story of Gopal Bhan and Nawab. So he was like the Nawab's assistant or whatever. So one time the Nawab came to Gopal Bhan and said, can you make a Mahabharata about me? He said, the Mahabharata is so famous, I want a Mahabharata about me. Gopal Bhan said, yeah, no problem, I can write a Mahabharata about you, no problem. Just 1,000 rupees. Anything for anything, there's a price. So the king gave him 1,000 rupees. Some weeks went by. The Nawab said, where's the Mahabharata? He said, it's coming, it's just now coming. I need a bit more extra funding. Give me some extra funding. So I gave him some more money. And then the Nawab came back, he said, is it done, is it done? He said, just now coming, just now coming. And then finally the Nawab got really angry. He said, if you don't show me the Mahabharata, I want to read it. I want to see that you've done something. Gopal Bhatt said, it's nearly ready. There's just one detail. I need to know how many husbands your wife has. He says, what do you mean, how many husbands my wife has? I'm the only one. He said, no, that's a key aspect of Mahabharata. Draupadi has 5 husbands. You're a big man. You've got a big kingdom. You want a big Mahabharata, so your wife must have many husbands, right? He says, no, she doesn't have many husbands. He says, I'm the only husband. So Gopal Bhatt said, if she doesn't have many husbands, there's no Mahabharata. So he said, doesn't matter, shelve the project. I don't want a Mahabharata. He took the money and went. Prabhupada used to tell this story to depict the scientists. He says, the scientists keep taking your money. They'll tell you, yeah, give us some extra funding. We're going to find out. And then finally, nothing at the end. So everyone has a Mahabharata. Everyone has a story. Everyone goes through their ups and downs, right? You give someone 10 minutes of your ear time and they'll probably share with you a little bit of their Mahabharata, what's going on, right? Like everyone has a Shakuni in their life. Yeah, I know all of you are thinking of who's the Shakuni now in your life. Of course, we shouldn't be too quick to label the Shakunis. There may be a little bit of a Shakuni within us as well, like if we're honest. But everyone has a Shakuni in their life, someone who's plotting, planning, someone who's behind the scenes, someone who seems to be engineering, little political. Everyone has a Vidura, someone, good counsel, always there to give you a bit of good advice. Everyone probably has a Karna, someone who's bent on revenge. Trust me, there's someone out there who probably wants revenge on you. And there's someone like Dhritarashtra probably in your life who always feels themselves to be a victim. So all of us have a Mahabharata, and therefore all of us also have a battle. All of us are on the battlefield of life. This is it. This battlefield is not just literal, it's metaphorical. Srila Prabhupada will explain. All of us are on the battlefield. Some of us are at the beginning of the battle, first day of the battle. Some are on the 16th, 17th, 18th day of the battle. Maybe some of us are in the battle, we're losing energy. Maybe some of us are in the battle and we've just had Krishna's mercy and we're feeling like on the up, empowered. Maybe some of us have lost some friends in the battle, some fellow soldiers. Maybe some have made some new allies. Maybe for some of us in the battle of life, there's just been a turning point. In Kurukshetra battle, it was on the 10th day. That was the turning point. Bhishma fell. Boom. Everything changed. Sometimes on the battlefield of life, it's like that. One event changed. Boom. Someone drops. Something drops. And then everything changes. So on the battlefield of life, you've got to keep strategizing, and then you've got to keep re-strategizing, because it's a battlefield. And if you want to make the journey to Vrindavan, then you have to stay alive. And to stay alive means you've got to learn how to be a good fighter on the battlefield of life. And so Kurukshetra is reminding us that we've got to be spiritual warriors. And so that's what I'm going to try and share with you a little bit today. But before we do that, let's turn to the Bhagavatam. Now we know that the Mahabharata and the Bhagavatam are seamlessly connected, because where the Mahabharata ends, the Bhagavatam begins. So therefore the whole first canto, practically the majority of the first canto of the Bhagavatam, is talking about the events which took place at the conclusion of Kurukshetra. So therefore we hear about Yudhishthira and the Pandavas going to see Bhishma and all of this, and then we learn everyone was enthroned, everything was going on. And then one day Arjuna returned from his travels looking extremely distraught. And Yudhishthira could understand face is the index of the mind. So he could understand immediately something absolutely terrible has happened. But he was trying not to repeat it. He was trying to convince himself that it didn't happen. It must be something else. I know something bad has happened, but not that. That can't have happened, because that is the darkest thing that could have ever have happened. But that is what happened. Krishna left the world. The moment Krishna leaves the world, Krishna svadham upagate dharma jnana dibi saha. Dharma and jnana leave, Kali Yuga envelopes the world, and darkness ensues. So Arjuna was totally distraught. Krishna has left. Just imagine when someone leaves in your life, how painful that is. So painful. It's amazing. We hear every day, death is imminent. Even when someone is sick and we know they're about to leave the world, even then when they die is shocking. Imagine what it's like to experience Krishna leaving the world. It's very difficult to imagine. So Arjuna, he's just in the palace, and in this whole chapter, the 15th chapter of the Bhagavatam, he's basically explaining all the beautiful things that Krishna did for him. Generally, this is what happens when someone leaves the world. Then immediately you realize how much of a blessing they were in your life. It's incredible. So Arjuna in this 15th chapter is very beautiful. You can read it in every single verse. He's very beautifully explaining how Krishna took care of him. And when we read passages like this, it's very powerful, because you can read this and reflect on your own life and remember, Krishna is looking after me in the same way. The great devotee is able to detect Krishna's protection in all situations. And therefore, you can read these verses and think, yeah, how many times has Krishna saved me? So here, Arjuna is reflecting on the battlefield, on the battle of Kurukshetra. And of course, that Krishna had taken his position as the Parthasarathi, as the charioteer. And now he's remembering Krishna has left the world. He's remembering the whole battle. Krishna was with me. Krishna was saving me. Krishna did all the tactics, the strategies. Krishna gave me all the intelligence. Krishna was Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddhe Se Arjuna Tistati. He was guiding the chariot of my life, not just from within my heart, but on my chariot. And so in this beautiful verse, he's remembering that actually Krishna was the one who was holding it all together. Right? There's that famous story at the end of the Kurukshetra battle where Arjuna says to Krishna, okay, all done, now step off. And Krishna says, no, you step off first. No, Krishna, you first. No, Arjuna, trust me, you first. And Arjuna steps off, and then the moment Krishna steps off the chariot, boom! The whole thing is decimated. The whole chariot blows apart. And in that moment, Arjuna is confirmed in what he already knew. Only Krishna was holding it all together. Otherwise, Krishna said the arrows of Karna were so powerful, were so potent. There's no way you could have survived. So here, in this beautiful verse, Arjuna is reflecting on how Krishna saved him on the battlefield. So please repeat after me. Yo Bhishma Karna Guru Shalya Chamushva Bhadra Rajanya Varya Ratha Mandala Manditashu Agre Charo Mama Vibhoratha Yupanam Yuthapanam Ayurmanam Sijadrisha Saha Oja Archad Yo Bhishma Karna Guru Shalya Chamushva Bhadra Rajanya Varya Ratha Mandala Manditashu Agre Charo Mama Vibhoratha Yuthapanam Ayurmanam sijatrisha saha oja archaya. Yo Bhishmakarna Guru Shalya Chamushva Bhadra. Rajanya Varya Ratha Mandala Manditashu. Agre Charo Mama Vibhoratha Yuthapanam. Ayurmanam Sijatrisha Saha Oja Archan. Please recite. Bhishmakarna Guru Shalya Chamushva Bhadra. Mataji's. Yo Bhishmakarna Guru Shalya Chamushva Bhadra. Bhishmakarna Guru Shalya Chamushva Bhadra. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the battlefield, it was he only who withdrew the duration of life, speculative power, and strength of enthusiasm from everyone in the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate. But he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this. So I'll just read the purport. Just an interesting thing here. When I read this, the first line of the verse says, Bhishma Karna Guru Shalya. It's interesting that Arjuna outlines these four personalities. I was thinking because all of them actually had a very intimate relationship with the Pandavas actually. Bhishma, of course, we know was very dear to the Pandavas. Guru Drona, of course, we know was the teacher of the Pandavas. Karna, as we know, was actually the brother of the Pandavas. And Shalya is also an interesting one, because Shalya was actually partial towards the Pandavas as well. And he was actually meant to fight with them, but at the last moment he switched to the Kauravas. So actually it's very interesting that Arjuna should name all of these four, because actually all of them were actually, in one sense, very intimately connected with the Pandavas, but ended up on the opposing side, trying to kill them. Anyway, just a point, interesting point. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, expands himself by his plenary Paramatma portion in everyone's heart. And thus he directs everyone in the matter of recollection, forgetfulness, knowledge, the absence of intelligence, and all psychological activities. Bhagavad Gita 15:15. As the Supreme Lord, he can increase or decrease the duration of life of a living being. Thus the Lord conducted the battle of Kurukshetra according to his plan. He wanted that battle to establish Yudhishthira as the emperor of this planet, and to facilitate this transcendental business, he killed all who were on the opposite party by his omnipotent will. The other party was equipped with all military strength, supported by big generals like Bhishma, Drona, and Shalya. And it would have been physically impossible for Arjuna to win the battle had the Lord not helped him by every kind of tactic. Such tactics are generally followed by every statesman, even in modern warfare, but they are all done materially by powerful espionages, military tactics, and diplomatic maneuvers. But because Arjuna was the Lord's affectionate devotee, the Lord did all this himself without personal anxiety by Arjuna. That is the way of the devotional service to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here Prabhupada is very wonderfully explaining that Krishna is on the chariot of Arjuna, and Krishna is directing everything. Krishna is very much understanding the battle, everything that's going on. As we know, Krishna is always 10 steps ahead. So Krishna is planning, and Krishna from behind is basically arranging all the tactical, strategic things that need to be done in order for Arjuna to be victorious. So in this verse, Arjuna is saying they were powerful. Bhishma and Drona, extremely powerful. In the Bhagavad Gita, we hear Bhishma Drona Pramukata. In, I think it's 25th verse maybe. It said that when Arjuna told Krishna, can you take up my chariot to the middle? Krishna always has a sense of humor. Krishna draws up the chariot to the middle of the battlefield, and he stops right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Bhishma Drona Pramukata. In English they say rubbing it in your face. Right, like right there, boom, Bhishma and Drona. As if Arjuna wasn't already bewildered, Krishna put him right in front. And in the commentary, it's explained that Bhishma and Drona represent the two biggest attachments of the living entity. Bhishma, the grandfather, the grandsire, represents the attachment of the living entity towards other people, relatives, friends, friendship, family, society, all this stuff. And he says, Drona represents the attachment to your ideas, your attachment to your previous ideas, your previous understandings, your previous teachings, your previous narrative of life. Very difficult to give up. It's amazing, even when you come to Krishna consciousness and you accept the philosophy, still the previous narrative that we lived by continues to haunt us, because Drona represents the teacher who teaches us all these things. So These are very, very powerful warriors. Karna had his earrings, he had his armor, practically indefeatable. And Shalya was also incredibly valiant. He was the charioteer of Karna. But when Karna fell, he became the commander on the 17th day of the battle. And if you read the Mahabharata, I mean, Shalya is like formidable. He's like killing left, right, and center. He's good. But on the 8th day, Yudhishthira takes him out. One-on-one battle, Yudhishthira kills him. But they're all very, very powerful. And so here, Arjuna realizes only Krishna was made me victorious. So, the battlefield, what does this all mean for us? The battlefield, as we know, is a literal place. Prabhupada went there. Prabhupada told the devotees it's a beautiful place. People say Kurukshetra is just a myth, but it's a real place. Here you can go. And Prabhupada encouraged the devotees to preach there and establish a temple. But we know that according to Madhvacharya, Shastra can be understood on 3 levels. So it's literal. We never take the literal meaning out. Prabhupada was so heavy. He said many, many times when people tried to make the Kurukshetra into simply a metaphor, Prabhupada was very, very heavy. He said, no, it is a real place, it's a real event. So it's literal. But the Shastra and the accounts of Shastra are also didactical. They teach us things. They give us lessons. They tell us everything that we're going to encounter in life and how to respond to it. But the Shastra is also metaphorical. When we use the metaphorical to complement the literal and the didactical, the metaphorical is very useful. If we use the metaphorical to replace the literal and the didactical, then it's an issue. Prabhupada took exception to that strongly. So what we're basically saying here is that Arjuna's on the battlefield, Arjuna's the warrior, Krishna is his chariot, and Krishna is basically ensuring he's going to be victorious. So basically it's a metaphor, if we understand it deeply, that we're on a battlefield. And this is what Prabhupada says. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence on this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. The Bhagavatam says danger at every step. So we are all on the battlefield, everyone, and as Krishna tells Arjuna, Krishna is also telling us. Krishna says to Arjuna, this very famous verse, Klebhyamma smagama partha netatvai upapadyate kshudram hridayador balyam tyaktotishta parantapa. So the battlefield is metaphorical. We are in the battlefield. One commentator says it's all that one way you can see the metaphor is it's like Kurukshetra is a sacrificial pit. Kurukshetra, the battlefield, is like a sacrificial pit. He says the war is the fire. Arjuna is the priest. The arrows are the ladle. And the Kauravas are the they're going in. Right? The Ahuti, they're going in. So but we're understanding that this means we're on the battlefield. Our life is a battle, actually. And here, Krishna is telling Arjuna, is very strong language, give up such petty weakness of heart. This is considered one of the strongest anarthas, one of the most difficult anarthas to overcome, and one of the most dangerous for one spiritual practice, weakness of heart. Can I ask you, how do you think weakness of heart manifests in the life of a devotee who's on the battlefield of life, contending with all the obstacles and all the complexities of it all. Kindness? What do you mean by kindness?
Sometimes we are overly kind, apparently, but that is not good for us.
Misplaced kindness. Okay? Untruthful.
Not acting as we know we should act.
Not acting on our intelligence. Oh, just put that. Yeah. Please continue. How does weakness of manifest? Attachment. Attachment to what? To the wrong things. It could be people, it could be things, it could be positions, it could be attitudes, it could even be relationships.
Not be able to take shelter.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
That we think we can do it on our
Oh,
own.
okay. Ego of control and lack of humility to take shelter. Jealousy. Jealousy, envy of others. Yes. Anything else? Compromising values. Everyone has their price. Anything else? Lack of faith. Yes, continue. May as well fill up the space. Doubts. Doubts in what? In Krishna, in yourself, whether you have the ability to do it, in the path, in the movement. Just put that one in as well. Maybe someone has doubts in the movement. Sense gratification. Tendencies. Yes. Continue. Identifying with the thoughts, so not acting on intelligence, acting on the mind. Yeah. What else? Having a victim mentality. Couple more. Being unkind. Unkind or harsh. Yeah, victim mentality.
Not being yourself, pretending.
Inauthenticity. So why am I doing this? Like Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to be a warrior on the battlefield, and he's saying you have to give up your weakness of heart, you have to perform, you have to act, you have to carry out my will. And what I'm suggesting is that until and unless we can give up the weakness of heart and fight the good fight on the battlefield of our lives, it's going to be very, very difficult to approach higher matters, higher spiritual aspirations. We can hear of many, many beautiful things. We can fix our vision on the North Star of our highest and deepest and most cherished aspiration. But until and unless we're able to become good warriors, it will all remain in English what they call a pipe dream. And therefore, Kurukshetra, I find it very, very interesting because I think it helps us to be realistic, that we need to deal with a lot of immediate weakness of heart before we can move forward to other things. So here, this is the battle. If you look at the battle of Kurukshetra, it's wonderful. You could do a whole seminar on the 18 days of the battle of Kurukshetra, And it's very, very instructive. So many things happen on the battlefield which give us so many clues about how to fight the good fight as we're trying to contend with the complexity, the chaos, the challenges, the confusion of life. This world is shocking. This world is harsh. This world will serve you up things that you never expected. And as a warrior, someone has to be very, very equipped to deal with that. Otherwise, we die. We lose our lives before we get to our destination. And so, if you look at the Kurukshetra battle, the 18 days, the first thing that immediately comes to be very, very prominent is that the battle isn't simply won on strength. The battle is also won based on skill and based on strategy. You need strength, but you need skill, and you also need strategy. And therefore, when we're looking at the battlefield of our life, what we often do is we just become passionately, we try to deal with things head on. We're very reactive, very defensive. But sometimes we need to step back and be more skillful, be more strategic, and understand how to navigate things in a more expert way. And therefore you see in this purport, Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna is the master tactician. He's always looking, what's the best way to do it? We tend to be very, very passionate in the way we approach life and all of its obstacles and complexities. So the first thing is, although in a war you tend to think that strength is the most important thing, actually what counts for probably just as much, if not more, is the skill and the strategy with which you apply yourself. And therefore we make plans. A devotee is always making plans and strategizing as to how to navigate their life and deal with things, and not just be reactive, be proactive as well. And of course, plans don't always work out. I remember there's a story, someone came to His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj and he said, Maharaj, this is my plan for this project. And Maharaj looked at all his plans for the project and everything, and he said, I have no doubt you'll be successful, and I'll have no doubt that your plan will fail. It's a very interesting reply. I have no doubt you'll be successful, and I have no doubt your plan will be unsuccessful. Because we make plans, we have to make plans, we have to put something in front of Krishna, but then we have to constantly re-strategize. So the first thing I would suggest, when you look at the Kurukshetra battle, people are very, very smart about how they're approaching warfare. And maybe we need to also be the same. Not just think one-dimensionally, reactively, but think creatively, ingeniously. There are many things that happen on the battlefield which are also instructive in different ways. For example, in a war, one of the most important positions is the commander, who's going to be the commander of the army. Therefore, whenever you look at Pandavas and Kauravas, they're always like thinking deeply, who should be the commander? So when the Pandavas had to choose their commander, it's very interesting. They chose Drishtadyumna as their commander. And many were like, Arjun is the star. Arjun is the top person. Like, why would you not make Arjun the commander? And there it's explained that the reason they made Drishtadyumna the commander is that although, there were many reasons, but one of the reasons was that although Arjun was the star, and Arjun was definitely the star, they wanted Arjun to be free of all of that needing to think about arranging the whole army, because he had something better that he could do. So don't preoccupy, such a great person in your army by just utilizing them for organization that somebody else can do. Free up their intelligence so they can use the same, use it to benefit you in the best way. So when I read that, I thought that's so interesting as well. We have amazing people in our life, and what we do is we use them for substandard things. You may have like a Arjun in your life. You may have like an illuminary, a powerful spiritual teacher. And what are you going to them and asking? What are you going to them and how are you utilizing their help in your life? Like if you go to a powerful spiritual teacher and you ask questions like, should I move here or there? It may not be the most powerful question to ask a spiritual teacher because they can perhaps give you way more. If you go to a spiritual teacher looking for therapy, if you treat a spiritual teacher as a therapist, then you'll get therapy and you'll feel very good. But what you may not realize is that you missed out on the opportunity to get something way more powerful. And therefore, you see in the Battle of Kurukshetra how they're very, very strategic to use the right individuals or take benefit from the right individuals in the right way. Very, very smart. When they fight the battle, they're not only looking at how to create destruction in the army, the opposing army, but they're also looking at how to protect themselves. This is also another big thing. You see, this was Abhimanyu's downfall. Why did Abhimanyu? He was a star. He was such a valiant warrior. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, he knew how to penetrate the chakra vyuha and fight valiantly. He penetrated it. He fought valiantly. He killed many soldiers, but he didn't know how to get out. He didn't know how to get out unscathed, unaffected. Another major thing, we put so much emphasis on what we're achieving, what we're attaining, what we're trying to do in the world, but not understanding the collateral damage to our own consciousness, and and then this makes us weak. It brings us down. So again, another very, very smart thing to do. In the battle, you see people like Duryodhana, very confident, overconfident. In the beginning of the war, he's overconfident. He's telling everyone, just look at my army, we're unbeatable. It's difficult to understand whether he's overconfident or whether he knows, but he's just trying to talk it up to deny the fact that he knows I'm going to lose. Like sometimes people know it's bad, but they just try to talk it up in denial. So it's hard to know whether he's overconfident or in denial, but the point is, he's not truthful. He's not honest. The good thing about Arjun is he's honest. Arjun's like comes in front of Krishna, I'm confused. I need help. I can't move forward. That humility to be able to do that is a very important part of fighting a war, which empowers him to then fight the war. So similarly, when we're on the battlefield of life, to have that honesty, to have that openness, to take help. We said here, one of the weaknesses of heart is to think that I can do everything myself, but to know that I can't do it myself. So like this, there are so many lessons that we learn of how to fight the good fight in the battle of life. I can't go through all of them because of time, but perhaps the most important lesson on the battlefield is the lesson that Arjuna is giving in this verse, that ultimately Krishna is always there. And Krishna will empower you. Krishna will get you out of the most precarious situations. Krishna will find you a solution when you think there's no solution. Krishna repeatedly did this in the battle, right? How was Bhishma killed? Because of Krishna. Because Krishna explained, put Shikandi in front of him, he won't be able to fight, and Arjuna, that's how you'll be able to kill him. Yudhishthira couldn't kill Drona, but Krishna told him how to do it. Duryodhana couldn't be killed, but Krishna told Bhima how to do it. It was literally below the belt. I mean, maybe that's where the saying comes from, I don't know. But Krishna literally told him. Bhishma, Krishna made a tactic. Drona, Krishna made a tactic. Duryodhan, Krishna made a tactic. Jayadrat, Krishna made a tactic. He made the vow. Before sunset, Krishna made an illusion. So like this, I mean, Karna, Krishna made a tactic. He's stuck. Now's the time. Oh, how can I do it? It's okay. He also violated the rules. So if you see here, Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that Krishna did all the espionage, Krishna did all the maneuvering, Krishna made all the arrangements in the background, because when one is connected to Krishna, and when one has a pure motivation, and when one is actually serving to fulfill Krishna's will and bring Krishna pleasure, then in the background Krishna will make all the tactics. Krishna will rearrange the situation. One simply has to rely on Krishna. Krishna says, Machita sarva durgani mat prasada tarishasi atachetvam ahankara nashroshasi vinangshasi. Krishna says, Machita, if you become conscious of me, sarva durgani, you will overcome all the obstacles of life, mat prasadat, by my grace. Atachetvam, but if you don't, ahankaram, if you don't hear me, if you're not connected with me, if you try to think you can do it yourself, nashroshasi vinangshasi, you will be lost. So perhaps the most powerful teaching of the 18 days of the Kurukshetra war is that what you see again and again and again is that those who remain connected to Krishna, in the background, Krishna makes all the arrangements to get you out of the most precarious situations. So Kurukshetra is teaching us we have to fight. What I would suggest is that each of us are fighting on 3 battlefields in life. There's the battlefield of the soul. There's the battlefield of the Sangha. The Sangha is also a battlefield. Oops. And then there's the battlefield of the wider society. And I'll explain what I mean. Every devotee is called to be a spiritual warrior. You see, the nature of the world is that things degrade. Just as gravity pulls everything down, the movement of the cosmic ages basically pulls everything down. And therefore, unless one is fighting, things will naturally go down. And therefore one has to constantly fight. The soul is constantly being pulled down. Oops, sorry. The soul is constantly being pulled down by anarthas, by upadhis, by doubts, by trauma from the past. Therefore, one has to constantly have a very, very deep inner life to fight beyond that, to fight beyond the anarthas. Anartho pashamam shakshad bhakti yogam adok sajay. By the linking process of bhakti, one can mitigate the anarthas that are superfluous to the living entity, the Bhagavatam says. Upadhis, so much identification with temporary roles that cause us so much heartache. We define ourselves by positions. We define ourselves by relationships. We define ourselves by something unique we think we have that other people don't have. And when someone shows that they have it better than us, then it's like an ego death. And therefore, constantly we have to fight. We have to fight against this, and we have to look for purity. So we're fighting the inner fight. You know, this is often said that the war is the inner war, the war against our own anarthas. Interesting thing is that even in the Sangha, there is a war going on, because a movement is necessary. An institution, in many ways, is beautiful, coming together in an organized way. Without it, we can't practice Krishna consciousness. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said, the spiritual institution is a necessary evil. And therefore, there are always going to be struggles over power, struggles over prestige, struggles over position. There are going to be struggles over conflicts. There's going to be perpetual grappling with disunity. All of these things are constantly attacking the Sangha. And therefore, every devotee has to emerge as a spiritual warrior to be an agent of positive change, to bring purity to the Sangha, to make the Krishna consciousness movement what it can and what it should be, and therefore to always become an agent of that purity. And in the world, we're fighting as well, because in the world, basically, people are perpetually trying to take God out of the picture. And therefore, whether it's atheism, whether it's materialism, whether it's what we call scientism, whatever it may be, people are perpetually trying to take God out of the picture. And if you take God out of the picture, it's going to be destructive. Krishna says this in the Gita, asatyam apratistam te jagatahur. If people say there's no God in control, there's no foundation to the universe, it just comes about by chance, Krishna says, etam drishtim, equipped with such a vision, nashtatma, lost to themselves, prabhavantya ugra karmana, people will do things that will destroy the world. Terrible works meant to destroy the world. So therefore, a devotee emerges as a spiritual warrior in the wider world to battle against the ensuing degradation in the world. The interesting thing about these three battlefields is that they all relate to each other. In other words, if you don't fight the inner battle, then you can't do anything to help fight the battle in the Sangha. Because you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. You have to be the change that you want to see in the society. So when we fight the inner battle, then we can come into the Sangha and fight against the impurity that may be entering the Sangha. And it's very, very interesting, because unless the Sangha develops the purity, we can't really do anything powerful to fight the battle in the world. In other words, sometimes we're going out there to preach, which is wonderful, we must preach. But what are we bringing people to? What are we ourselves? What are we at home? You can't trick the world. They're seeing everything that's going on. And therefore we can't just have a philosophy, we have to show a pure Sangha. And so this is why Kurukshetra is very, very relevant to us, because we have to fight on these levels. Like I said, we can have a North Star, we can have a cherished aspiration, we can have a very, very idyllic, sometimes even romantic vision of where we want to be. And we can hear very, very beautiful things about it, which we must. But unless we fight these battles, we won't be able to get there. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada was the consummate Brajabasi, and simultaneously he was the consummate spiritual warrior. Sometimes when you look at these pictures of Prabhupada, he just looks like a general. It's like he's the Senapati Bhakta, clearly commander-in-chief, just a general. Yesterday I was mentioning, Prabhupada said, Vrindavan is my home, but Mumbai is my office. In other words, Prabhupada shows up in the office. Prabhupada fights the good fight in Mumbai. When all the devotees said we should leave Juhu, Prabhupada said, I made a promise to Radha Ras Bihari that I'll build a temple for them here. I don't care who comes, I don't care what comes, I don't care how much opposition there is, I ain't moving anywhere. And Prabhupada said, we're staying here. And finally, when Mr. N passed away, Prabhupada said, Jai. And then Prabhupada said, it was a good fight. And someday, somebody should write a story about it. And of course, Giriraj Maharaj did. So Prabhupada enjoyed a good fight. He was a spiritual warrior. He was coming out into the world and he was attacking. Prabhupada said, I make no distinction. I attack and criticize everyone equally. So, such a spiritual warrior, Prabhupada went to no end to ensure purity in his movement, managing, organizing, taking on all the anxiety, mediating all the conflicts, helping all the devotees in their struggle, fighting in the world. And simultaneously, Prabhupada was the Brijabasi. The Brijabasi who was so connected to Krishna, the Brijabasi who said, Vrindavan is my home. The Brijabasi who ultimately, after fighting the good fight his whole life, retired back to Vrindavan and there showed the final lesson. So Prabhupada is our general, Prabhupada is our commander-in-chief. Prabhupada is the Brajabasi that each one of us are following. And therefore Prabhupada shows that a devotee, while instilling Braj, Vrindavan, as the deepest aspiration within their heart, also becomes a spiritual warrior and also knows how to fight on all of these battlefields so that we can become qualified. Because as Maharaj was mentioning yesterday, you can't buy a ticket to Vrindavan. Not possible. One must qualify themselves. And how does one qualify themselves? Through these things. So this is the first dimension of Kurukshetra. I encourage you in your spare time, read about the 18 days of the battle. It's very exciting actually. And you will see many, many insights of how you can also fight on your battlefield. Because remember, everyone has their Mahabharat. Everyone is fighting the battle. And here, we're learning that Krishna is on your chariot and he'll strategize, provided you're connected. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So yes, I'll open it up if anyone has any questions or any comments. Or yes, Sachinanda Maharaj.
Krishna, yes, Krishna. Thank you very much. This was, I think, very helpful, useful, and also encouraging. I have one question which is posed many times before me, which I also see as I try to counsel, coach, and assist devotees. The question is, how do I know that this is my battlefield? I may be motivated, I may be pure-hearted, I may want to do it for Krishna, but perhaps this is not what I'm supposed to do. How can I know? Yes, there is the spiritual master, yes, there's the Sangha perhaps, but I find myself in a situation, these devotees say, where it seems to be expected of me to make my own decision or my own plan. I'm asked, what do you wish to do? What could you do? And at that time, this question is there. I have seen devotees who have, for sometimes 20 years, worked so hard on one battlefield, but nothing was achieved. They exhausted their muscles, their hearts, their minds, and feel, oops, I should perhaps have done something else. So, can you shed some light on this?
Yeah. So how do you know which is the battlefield, which is the battle? I mentioned Juhu, and all the devotees wanted to leave that battlefield, actually. They said, Prabhupada, they're doing us a favor. We need to get out of here. Somehow Prabhupada was convinced, no, this is the battlefield. There's no other battlefield. This is the one we have to fight. It's interesting, there's a letter, it was lost for many years, and they found it many years later. I think Devamita Maharaj said this in the class. And Prabhupada was referring to Juhu. And Prabhupada in this letter, he says, actually I should have left long time ago. Prabhupada himself writes in the letter, actually I should have left a long time ago from here. But Krishna was telling me, Krishna still kept telling me to do it, something of that nature, Prabhupada. It's very strong intuition. So let's begin from the ideal and then go down. I think the first thing is that the ideal, Krishna says in the Gita, Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahita. When one has come to the point of conquering their mind, paramatma samahita, they're connected with Paramatma. They have a very strong sense of intuition, a very, very strong connection with Krishna, which gives them a very a powerful sense of what they need to be doing and what battle to fight. And I think all of us have a glimpse of that. Sometimes, I don't know if you have that experience, I look back in my life at a decision I made, and I'm like, how did I make that decision? But in the moment, it just was very automatic, because Krishna does help from inside. But of course, we can't trust that. Therefore, as you mentioned, we take devotees, guidance, and so on and so forth. So that definitely point is there as well of guidance. But then I think there's something even more fundamental than that. So I mean, the best is intuition. If we don't have that, we should definitely have guidance. But guidance is not always also there, or there may be conflicting. Therefore, I think the more fundamental thing is self-awareness. You will know what is your battlefield if you know what is your dharma. And if you know what is your psychophysical disposition, then you will be much more able to understand what battle you can win, what battle you can fight, what battle will make a contribution towards the ultimate thing that you're trying to achieve. But if we don't have that level of self-awareness, if we don't have that understanding of our own psychophysical nature and haven't determined our dharma, what's my contribution, what am I trying to offer to the world in my small time here, it's very difficult to understand which is the battlefield. And then you could become a casualty fighting on the wrong battlefield. So intuition ultimately, definitely take guidance from devotees, but then I would say a very deep sense of self-awareness of who am I in this psychophysical frame I have. And you, Maharaj, often quote the purport of the 8th canto, of Gajendra becoming weak because he was fighting the battle, but he was in the wrong environment. So he could have won the battle, but he didn't place himself appropriately. So I would say that these are some thoughts that I have on that. Hope that helps. Thank you. Yes?
I just have an additional question to your answer. That is, how to make a difference between our perception and intuition?
Yeah. So, as I said, jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahita. When you have aligned your will with Krishna's will, then what happens is that then you're completely aligned with Krishna, right? So therefore then whatever comes up in your mind and whatever is dictated by Krishna, everything is all in line because there's only one, we're all on the same page here. But when we're not, when we haven't fully aligned our will with Krishna, then we have a mind, then we have perception, then we have what the Bhagavatam says, pritak bhav. It's very interesting. The Bhagavatam uses this terminology, pritak bhav, which means a separatist mentality. So we have a certain amount of a separatist mentality from Krishna. And because we have a separatist mentality from Krishna, then we have our own perception. And our own perception may not be in line with Krishna's dictation, because the pritak bhav is there. So until you have completely annihilated that, you can't expect that your perception and Krishna's intuition is going to be the same. And therefore, that's why those other things are there, like taking advice and so on and so forth. All right? Yes. On the microphone, they're saying.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for the most wonderful class. My question is about, we know and we see from Mahabharata, as you've mentioned, that Krishna was holding everything, and as soon as he left the chariot was gone. So how do we understand, or how do we see that why did Krishna, from Mahabharata we know that why did Krishna try to stop the battle in the first place? He was totally against the 18 days of Mahabharata, and he was trying his best to stop it. How do we see that? How should we understand that? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, of course, it's mentioned that there are different ways of resolving conflict. I can't remember all of them now. Sama. Does anyone remember? Negotiation, and then Danda is the last one. I always remember Danda. No, not that one. We tend to go there straight away. So maybe someone can check it. I can't remember. Reconciliation, then some kind of trickery or something. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, you can check this. There are 4 ways of resolving a conflict, and generally Vedic culture is you go systematically. We always try to resolve things in the most non-violent way as possible, because the Vedic aphorism is Mahimshat Sarva Bhutanam. Right? Unnecessary violence not required. So therefore, violence is not the first port of call. So this is how it's generally. So Krishna is showing the example. Let's try to do it through negotiation. Let's try to do it through compromise. Let's try to do it. Even if that doesn't work, let's try and you have it? Okay. ChatGPT, ki jai. Sama, conciliation or persuasion. Dana, concession or offering. So first you try a reconciliation. Let's do an agreement. If that doesn't work, then you do a compromise. Okay, then we won't do this, you don't do that, and let's just... If that doesn't work, Beda. Then you can do some trickery. Now it's getting more, you can see. It gradually gets more. So then sometimes even by trickery, it's okay to do trickery if you're trying to bring peace. So therefore sometimes even in ISKCON management, I shouldn't say that actually, but sometimes it gets so bad that you have to do, again, we have to be very careful, but sometimes you have to do things like this to create. But if none of those things work, danda. Danda means punishment or force. So it's a general Vedic strategy, mahimshat sarva bhutanam, that violence is only employed when absolutely necessary. Yes, anyone else? Okay, Avik.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you spoke about how Krishna is always there on the battlefield. Can you briefly touch upon how our offenses and anarthas like severely block him being able to be there?
Yeah, as we know, aparad means to create a distance. So yes, we have offended. Pratigyat avago. What is that? Aparada sahasrani kriyante harnisham maya. From morning to evening, I am offensive. But remember that same verse. I haven't done deity worship for a long time. But the verse is Aparada sahasrani kriyante harnisham maya dashoham. Is it? Dashoham iti matmatva kshamashva madhusudana. Am I right? Is that right? So Krishna is kind, Krishna is merciful. The main thing is acceptance. The main thing is acknowledgement that one commits an offense, that one makes a mistake, that one somehow does something displeasing to Krishna is definitely a problem, but in and of itself not a disqualification if one has deep acceptance, if one has deep acknowledgement and tries to improve things. And so apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak, that even if one does something sudura achar, very terrible, Krishna still doesn't cancel anyone. Now that verse obviously has to be understood in a very balanced way. This verse is very, very important, because if you ignore this verse, Krishna consciousness becomes impossible. But if you misinterpret this verse, then Krishna consciousness also becomes impossible. Therefore, this verse must be understood very, very carefully. But the basic point Krishna is making here is that nobody gets cancelled. Apichet, even if someone does something, but there must be a certain inner transformation and response and acknowledgement which qualifies one again to receive the mercy of Krishna. So, like that. It's okay. Yes, bro.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the class. I just wanted to ask a question about the context of this class in relation to the wider context of the seminar. The original question was how do we enter Vraj? And obviously today was a lot about fighting our battles, or fighting on the battlefield. And my question is that is in the life of a devotee, is it that we fight our battles and then we qualify ourselves to enter Vraj, or is it that we continue fighting our battles and somehow then Vraj manifests in our lives, or is that, how does it sort of happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, thank you. We will not enter Vraj by fighting. You don't get to Vraj by fighting, kicking and screaming and running away from the enemy or whatever. The point I'm making, here, right, like Vishaya Chariya Kabe Shuddhe Habe Man Kabe Hama Bhairavo Shri Vrindavan. When will my mind be completely freed from all contamination of desires for material pleasure? Only at that time will it be possible for me to understand Vrindavan. So the point is that when does the fight go on till? Well, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that until you're at prema, there is some trace of anartha. Once you reach anartha nivritti, fighting goes to the background. Because then what happens is taste takes over. And the taste from ruchi to ashakti to bhav becomes so much more intense that the fire of that taste then begins to resolve anarthas. So basically after nishta, one is not fighting in the same way. But up until nishta, it's a fight. That doesn't mean we can't hear about Vrindavan, it doesn't mean we can't be inspired by it. Of course we must be. But we have to be very, very realistic. Until and unless, like what is nishta? Nishta means you know you're at nishta when there's no laya, no laziness. But then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says there should be no vikshepa, distraction. Because one may say, so laya means sleepiness, but one may say, I stayed awake in the class. But then the next thing is, were you distracted? So that complete absence of distraction. But then someone may say, I was in the class, I was awake, and I was focused. But then the next thing Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is, I forgot it in Sanskrit, disinterest. No disinterest. You have to be emotionally moved. And then there's two more, but I won't even go there. Unless these things are gone, it means you're still in the stage of fighting. In other words, who can sit in the kata and say, I didn't sleep? But not only that, I was totally focused. But not only that, I was emotionally moved. I was moved. Sometimes we're there, we're listening, but we're not moved. It's nice, but I don't know, like. So, and I don't know, everyone has to make the decision for themselves. But what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying is that until you get rid of these 5 things, you got to fight the good fight. And therefore we have to become equipped to be spiritual warriors, because otherwise, again, I say it's a pipe dream. Therefore, what you'll find is that the general emphasis of Prabhupada's message, everyone again, this is just my understanding, but everyone can see for themselves, was generally on getting to that point of nishta. It's interesting how Prabhupada he almost set up ISKCON with a military terminology. The temples are army bases. The books are bombs. The guy who gives you service is the commander. And when I remember devotees used to write emails and they used to write Camp London, like a military, like a military operation. And what can we say? Maybe in that military terminology, maybe we lost a little bit of heart. And maybe that was a problem. But at the same time, there's a war. Prabhupada writes in his purport, you've declared war. The moment you say, I'm a devotee, you've declared war. You can't say, hey, look, guys, I don't want any trouble here. I'm a peaceful guy. No. The moment you say you're a devotee, Prabhupada says, you declared war on Maya. You have to fight. Otherwise, why did you declare war? So it's very, what can I say? We're in a precarious position, but it's a beautiful position. But you have to be alert, because now you're on the battlefield. But it's great. Happy are the Kshatriyas to whom fighting opportunities come. So devotee is happy, I'm on the battlefield. It's great. We're happy because that verse says opens the doors to liberation. We will say opens the doors to Vrindavan. But now you have to fight. So that's why I'm beginning the seminar here, because the battlefield is extremely important. You're not going to get to Vrindavan by fighting. But you're also not going to get to Vrindavan by not fighting. It's not enough, but it's necessary. All right. On that light note, you can enjoy breakfast now and retire from the battlefield for a little bit, and then maybe pick up the stream of thought later on. Thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Keshava Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, again, for this very practical first step on the battlefield of our lives. Just a few announcements. The program is same as yesterday, and you find the details on the board. The only difference is that today at 2:30 there is also a disciple meeting, disciples of His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj. Will it take place here or? In the room on the right side of the entrance hall, and it's open for the public also. Oh, but it's mainly for the disciples. But yes. It's yeah. Okay, so that's at 2:30. And then also we like to, again, give your attention to the book stalls. All our speakers are authors. They have written several books. So you find these books just in front when you come in. And I like to especially also emphasize that Entering Eternity is especially a book on Vrindavan. As we hear so much about Vrindavan, book written by Keshava Maharaj, please have a look and take these books there. And I also like to welcome, we have His Grace Sundarananda Prabhu with us and his wife Prema Manjari. Sundarananda Prabhu is a senior disciple of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj and also an initiating spiritual master in ISKCON. We'd like to welcome him also. Thank you so much for visiting us and gracing us with your association. Hare Krishna. Haribol. And I'd like to give also the word to our Shyamananda Prabhu, who also has a short announcement. Hare Krishna.
Yes, very short announcement. We are missing one of our soldiers because her flight was delayed by 2 days. She will be arriving in Zurich today noon. If you know about anybody who drives from Zurich to here today, please approach us so they could maybe pick her up. Thank you. So please enjoy prasadam. Okay, sorry, wrong information. Disciple meeting will be in the temple room. Hare Krishna.
I really